Hello everybody, how you guys doing today? Tonight, once again, it's nighttime. Tonight I got done with the Orgo Grunkara. This was a beast that took me a little while to get done. Not due to problems with designing or anything, but on the legs it took quite a few coats. So, it's kind of hard to do it over and over again. So, without further ado, I introduce you guys to the finished Orgo Grunkara. Here he is. I think he turned out pretty good. Get this cardboard out of the way. Hold on a second. Get this cardboard out of the way. Anyway, so pretty much here he is, guys. He's done. I think he turned out pretty good. I guess I'll move the camera out just a smidgen, and hold on a moment. That way I can get him in hand. Whoop. Make sure the camera doesn't fall over. Sorry. This damn rug. It's this bear rug that's in the way. Hold on a second. There we go. Kick that out of the way. And here we go. Take a look at him here. So start off with his head. I finally figured out how to do gloss on the eyes to make them look more real. You just take a thing of super glue here, and you take a stick, like a toothpick or a small stick, and you just kind of lather it on the eye, and it ends up giving it a real nice, realistic shine. In fact, I probably should have did that to the inside of the nostrils. Either way, here he is. I think he turned out pretty nice. Here's the inside of his mouth there, with the spots and all that. He got his tongue with the enlarged papillae, which are the spikes on his tongue. All animals have papillae, but on this specific wyvern, they're quite a bit larger. And for those who don't know, for people who do not know of Monster Hunter, this is a beast that does not actually exist in the world of Monster Hunter, but this is a creature I made specifically to go into Monster Hunter. Not saying that they would implement this beast in the Monster Hunter, but it's one of those, what do they call it? It's like an OC, an original character, but not as weird. It's a speculative evolution, I suppose, on one of these creatures. And it took me a while to kind of figure out the look to this thing. And about to slap the Giant Garuga in the face, move his tail out of there. But yeah, to get this beast down, it's how I got its name, first off, was just I wanted the word grunk to be in its name, and I just started mixing up different words to go with grunk, and then I added Ara, Grunkara, and then I went Oro, Grunkara, Doro, Grunkara, Orgo, and then I was like, oh hey, Orgo Grunkara sounds pretty good, and that's how I came up with this guy's name. He is officially known as Orgo Grunkara. I even, on the bottom here, I got it on his I got it kind of seared into his flesh here. Orgo Grunkara. Just in case. I would have put Monster Hunter on there, but I didn't think about it at the time, and it's way too late now. But the inspirations for this beast are from one of my pet chickens, Rocky specifically, because of the black face and eyes. You can see a lot of her, and specifically the face and eyes there. I kept a little bit of yellow from the original eye that the T-Rex had. And then, I just added some brown and a black pupil, and you got it on here. Not entirely even, but that's okay. And then, the giant beak tip was from terror birds, the forest rackets, which those things are pretty awesome. So I figure, look at his face, look at it. But yeah, no, the forest rackets, the terror birds, were the main inspiration for the beak here. And then I kept the teeth and jaws from the original T-Rex. I added these external ears on the side because a lot of Monster Hunter creatures have that. Specifically the flying wyverns in the game. But as for what this guy is, he is a bird wyvern, which is fascinating because, for those who do know Monster Hunter, Orgo Grunkara on average height is a little bit smaller than an Anjanath. Not too huge, Monster Hunter speaking, but still a relatively large animal. And pretty much why it isn't a brute wyvern, is essentially this animal's ancestors were bird wyverns that convergently evolved a large body size to help compete with some of the larger brute wyverns. Plus, brute wyverns weren't too big of a threat, or not. Well, no, they were a large threat, but they weren't too big of an what's the word? It's like they weren't too I guess common during this animal's a whole growing, or sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Evolutionary phase, essentially. Like there's a niche that was left open for a small amount of time, and within that small amount of time, given maybe 1 or 2 million years, this animal got massive, and like I said, a little bit smaller than an Anjanath, with the biggest individuals being a little bit larger than our average Anjanath. An Anjanath is a brute wyvern. For anybody who doesn't know, I'll be making one of those in the future. Not to scale with this guy. Nothing is to scale with this dude. Like, that Devil Joe in the background would probably be like twice the size of this dude in the game. Yeah, back onto the, what was inspired by this guy. Obviously, his feet were inspired by a blue-footed booby, which is a type of seabird. Just figured it'd be a nice little look to him he got. But anyway, I'll probably move on to the biology of these beasts. So the Orgo Grunkara is a mostly, I guess I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's solitary when it comes to its own species, but I'll get to that later. Its habitat, it lives in the jungled regions and coastal areas. So essentially where jungles meet coast. They're obviously known to island hop due to the webbed feet in between their toes, as I'll show here. Not obviously, that you guys wouldn't know. But you know what I mean. It's these animals are actually very adept swimmers and known to go out to sea for long periods in time in search of high protein in the sea animals that live around, which, believe it or not, actually gets them into quite a bit of trouble despite their size, because leviathans live in the ocean, like the Legiacris. And these animals actually end up encountering these things on quite a common, regular basis. That's what I mean. Hence the reason why they have evolved these scales for defense. With these large ones, the cutting blades, and the other osteoderms. As you can see, this male here has a few broken ones on the side from previous encounters. And, of course, they have large osteoderms within the neck that help them from bites. They have a good amount of thunder resistance. Is what it's called, because the Legiacris uses a lot of electricity, and a lot of the creatures they encounter out at sea have mostly electrical abilities, so these animals have developed a decent amount of electrical tolerance due to encountering a lot of these animals on a relatively regular basis. As for who wins most of the time in these sort of encounters? Usually the Orgo Grunkara, with its enlarged beak and decent defenses and claws, manage to keep the Legiacris at bay, but not all of them are lucky. As for how this creature lives on land, when it's not venturing out to sea in search of food, it is a omnivore. It's an omnivore. It's similar to a grizzly. It eats pretty much anything that it can get its mouth on, except for a select few things that I'll get into later. It searches the shoreline for clams, giant bivalves, and all such things like that. When hunting for fish out in the open seas, it dives for all different aquatic things. And as you guys can see here, these two little fleshy knobs on the inside or on the front of its nostrils actually close, kind of like a palate in the back of a crocodile's mouth. These knobs cover the inside of the nostrils, because this whole orifice here isn't actually the nostril. It's a keratinous. How do you say? Kind of like like what do you say? The solar panel dish. It's kind of like that, but for smells. This animal has a very large olfactory system, where this animal has incredibly acute sense of smell. If that makes any sense, if I'm saying that right. Essentially, these animals have very, very good senses of smell. And those little fleshy knobs on the front actually fold backwards and cover the nostrils while it's diving. To help prevent the lungs from getting flooded. And then how do you say here? The tongue could also fold back into the palate to help close up that palate back there, with the papillae partially retracting to help not cut the back of the throat. These animals, they could be out to sea for days at a time. They also have a tendency, like I said, to island hop to get fresh fruits from trees and even tree branches themselves. The animals have very acidic stomachs and can pretty much stomach anything. They could eat fresh, rotting wood, carcasses, fresh prey. They eat pretty much anything. They partially swallow gastroliths to help them stay submerged when they go out to sea. But that's on certain parts of the seasons, when during the drier parts of the season is usually when they go out to sea. During the more lush times in the jungleless regions where they live, they mostly stay on land in the jungle, in the regions that they live. Not particularly territorial, these animals. The Orgo Grunkara, fascinatingly enough, is a kleptoparasite. They go to other wyverns' nests and actually lay their egg. They have a single egg, and they lay their egg within another wyvern's nest. That way, the parents don't have to raise the young. And as such, these animals have been decently successful. The Orgo Grunkara's intelligence is roughly on that of a raven. They are very intelligent animals. Have been known to use branches and other such tools to help set up certain parts of their ecosystem, becoming almost like a keystone species in their area. Helping set up little shelters for smaller animals and various other ways. When they knock trees down, it helps build dams, and helps establish small ponds and rivers to get wider, turn into lakes. Plus the fruits they eat help disperse seeds, to help other fruit trees grow. Sorry, I keep losing my thought. I apologize for that. But what is most fascinating about this animal are their weird protective behavior of smaller creatures that are significantly smaller than them. These animals have a almost humanly level of care towards other small animals, where, especially depending on where they grow up, because as they've been established as kleptoparasites, their parent species, depending on what it is, which is usually a smaller creature, they will actually attempt to stay with their surrogate parents with and they'll grow a what's it called? They'll grow heavy bonds to them, usually not wanting to leave the area that they've been raised in and establishing territories there. However, they are not, due to their generally low numbers, they usually are not territorial, accepting pretty much any kind of company of their own species relatively without hostile interaction. This is a male, as you guys can see. The females have don't have this distinctive blue coloring. The females have more of a copper red look to their legs, and this metallic-y blue is also missing, although the stripes still remain, which helps various animals in their ecosystem recognize one Orgo Grunkara from another. So pretty much in terms of how the whole parenting thing happens was their surrogate parents will protect them, and some species have actually been able to recognize how important these animals can be, such as the congas, which is a species of primate native to the Monster Hunter world. These congas, along with the alpha male of the group, the conga lila, have been known to take eggs of Orgo Grunkaras from their surrogate parents and actually raise them as their own. And as such, the Orgo Grunkara will help the alpha conga lila in protecting the troop, and will form heavy bonds with them, even protecting the smaller infants, playing with them, various other activities. But as odd as that behavior is, another behavior these animals seem to I forget the word for it. I feel bad because you guys probably don't want to hear me bumbling about what I'm trying to remember. Right. As how far their protective instinct goes towards smaller animals of their size, almost on the opposite end of the spectrum, these creatures have almost an instinctual hatred of larger beasts that are bigger than they are. And that's very fascinating. Pretty much any animal that's around their height, if not taller, these animals seem to not like, including Anjanath, even herbivorous wyverns, and larger beasts. Devil Joe's, for one, that guy right over there. Except, like I said, wouldn't be in size scale. For example, if I grab this Devil Joe, I guess in terms of height, it'd probably be something like, there'd be the Orgo Grunkara, that would probably be the Devil Joe. Yeah, not much of an opponent, I know. But as for whether or not I'd ever make a large Devil Joe in the future, who knows, maybe. But yeah. But it's fascinating, too, because they'll actually hunt large monsters, regardless, carnivore, herbivore. They are insanely territorial, almost to the point of looking like madness towards larger monsters. When they encounter them, they try their best to kill them. And it's not entirely sure how this behavior came along. Possibly an ancestral trait left by their smaller ancestors of the intense hatred and fear they had towards the larger monsters, for obvious reasons. If anybody's ever seen a Kulu Yaku, or the smaller bird wyverns, and how they're often treated compared to the larger brute wyverns. Yeah. But it's almost funny how much it contrasts in comparison to these creatures' odd protective instincts of smaller creatures, the smaller monsters of the world. Even the Jaggies. The great Jaggeris, they'll generally be friendly towards them. The Kelby, the Amptonoth, the Congas, Conga lila, which are still pretty big, but not big enough to really be seen as a threat from the Orgo Grunkara, especially if the Orgo Grunkara is raised with them. And of course, that's pretty much that on the spectrum. These beasts are actually critically endangered in the old world of Monster Hunter, with only a few individuals really, or not a few individuals, but a very rare number, maybe like 80 around like 80 to 100 individuals left in the whole old world, the whole continent there. They're seen as sort of a guardian spirit to the natives there. The villages and the areas seem to very rarely, occasionally come across them. And the guild really has never contacted to hunt them due to these animals posing very little threat to humans as a whole. Due to their natural love of small creatures, and considering humans are a lot smaller than they are generally friendly towards humans. However, occasionally causing property destruction due to how big they are. However, some of the villages have actually been able to utilize some of these animals, taking advantage of their general kindness and their powerful abilities, and they've been known to raise them and almost have a dogmatic loyalty towards their caretakers while growing up, similar to when the Kongas take care of them and other surrogate creatures. The Orgo Grunkaras are fierce. They'll fight to the death to protect their area and the people that they care about. And while not having many elements on their side like other wyverns, they do actually have a rare element that most creatures are not able to use in Monster Hunter, the dragon element. On these fleshy sacs on the side of their face, fleshy calloused sacs, I guess you could say, is where the dragon element is stored. When these animals are enraged, their light gray to pink stripes on their face will actually turn a burning red, and the dragon element will start to seethe through the wattles on the side of their face, cooking up in their mouth, almost like. Okay, so to get out of the Monster Hunter world, if you guys ever saw the Gamera 2016 trailer where like the fire's cooking in his mouth, that's what it looks like for these guys, but with dragon element. But yeah, the dragon element cooks in their mouth for a certain amount of time, and then they release it as almost sort of a fireball type look. They can't shoot it out as a stream or a jet, but that's pretty much what they do, and it takes a lot of energy from them. Usually these animals use it as their last resort type weapon if they're losing the fight too bad. As for they rather die for their loved ones than try to live another day and let their family be eaten. They are pretty easily trained by the villages due to how smart they are. As to whether or not they can mimic human language like ravens, no, they cannot. Just due to their not having the right vocal cords. But apparently they're even so friendly that they let children play with them. Although obviously they keep a person on watch in most villages just due to how big these things are. But usually they are rather gentle. They've even been known to be good herd animals with moving cattle and Amptonoth herds. But yeah, like I said, they're mostly dying out in the New World due to the increasing loss of habitat and, the more plentiful threats from the Old World that has slowly been driving these animals further and further to the brink. Mostly one of those being a Devil Joe. Although, like I said, some villages on the Old World are keeping small, not even populations, really, just individuals of these creatures alive. Villages exchanging males and females so they can breed to varying success. But, some common predators of these guys, of this species, are the Devil Joes. They occasionally run into Anjanaths. Rathalos being a big issue with these guys due to them being weak to fire. The occasional Legiacris at sea. And just various other large wyverns that may prey on young or old infirm individuals. However, despite them being relatively, despite them dying out on in the old world, they're actually rather prolific in the new world, living in the more denser pockets of the oceans. Like for example, the ancient forest, living deep within those regions. In terms of how other creatures react to them, such as the Nargacuga and other animals, well, pretty much a lot of the pseudo wyverns, or I guess more grounded flying wyverns, don't see them as much of a good prey item due to how strong they are. And Orgo Grunkaras generally don't hunt them due to them not really being too much larger than themselves, or being shorter than themselves, so they don't seem as immediate threat. Although, if these animals try to mess with their surrogate parents or other creatures they've grown attached to in their region, they will attack them. As such, creatures like the Nargacuga and various other creatures have, a lot of the pseudo wyverns that hunt within the forest, such as the Nargacuga, have grown wary of these animals and actually have changed certain behaviors around them, such as becoming a lot more docile around these creatures to avoid attack. One pseudo wyvern that does occasionally try to hunt these creatures are Tigerex, which, especially the brute Tigerex variety, which sometimes try their luck against these hefty bird wyverns. Oh, sorry. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of what I can think of for their biology. If anybody has any questions for me of how they live in certain ways, I can answer it for you. But that's pretty much what comes all off the top of my head. In terms of what else inspires me, or what else inspired me, partially for these guys, the ears were obviously like a lot of the wyverns in Monster Hunter, but they weren't partially inspired by a Tasmanian devil too. The scoots running down the side here were partially inspired by ankylosaurs and crocodilians. I thought it fit in well with the the whole motif essentially of these creatures. Realistic enough to where it ain't obscene, but out there enough to where it still fits within Monster Hunter. This is more of a bony crest rather than a fleshy type crest, and like I said, with the females, it's more reduced, while not having the bluish color. Same with the legs. These on the sides of the arms and thighs are feathers. They're feathers that are kind of have some whitish spots on them, which, to be honest with you, that's just me because I didn't feel like filling in all of it. But it works pretty well with the biology, and I think it still looks pretty good. With some bluish hues on there, kind of make it fit in a good amount. The feathers can be soaked with water and help the creature stay cool during the hotter seasons in the junglist regions they live in. And again, also help them sink in ocean environments when they're diving. The arms are decently functional for the creature. They've been known to sometimes break anthills on occasion when they go into like the edge of some of the jungly environments that they explore, and will occasionally encounter the more desert and aridish environments where they'll occasionally encounter Baroth, which oddly enough they're actually rather comfortable around due to Baroth having a different habitat and generally a more mild temper, which doesn't trigger the Orgo Grunkara to attack. And for the most part, they get along, with some individuals developing friendships. As for whether or not they ever encounter Diablos or anything like that, generally no. They don't really. In terms of piscine wyverns like Juratotus, if those guys ever have an issue with, occasionally these guys do get in fights with Juratotus. Not often to where it's been documented by the guild, but with these osteoderms on the back usually helping in the fight. The tail here helps them for swimming due to the flatter edges. While it isn't their main source of swimming, it does help them steer, while the paddle feet, or sorry, the webbed feet definitely help them out quite a bit. This creature at its base was a T-Rex. The battle damage T-Rex, actually. I kept that little feature in there. Check it. Kind of fits, eh? I think that looks pretty good. So at least this dude still got battle damage. So that's pretty sweet. And, you know, I tried to hide it. You know, it's not too noticeable. But yeah. Honestly, I love this thing. Like I said, if anybody got questions for me about it, I will answer them right away, hopefully, unless YouTube doesn't tell me about them. But yeah, that's all I really got on this guy. If like I said, if anybody wants to ask me about anything, like how they interact with other creatures that I didn't mention and all that, I'll answer it. Just let me know. Anyways, for as the next creature, I actually got quite a few. While this guy was going on, I actually got 2 more creatures ready to paint. I got a Triceratops, a special Triceratops, like a custom Triceratops. And I got the Aquatic Smilodon done, which is another speculative creature I came up with. Yeah, there's Orgo Grunkara. I honestly like him. I think he fits well within the Monster Hunter world, and actually, I gotta ask the Unnatural History channel what he thinks, because he's a good judge on Monster Hunter creatures. I'd love to know his opinion. So anyways, I'll see you guys till next time. Bye-bye.